Sleep was asleep and without dreams. For a long time he had not known such a sleep anymore. When he woke up after many hours, he felt as if 10 years had passed. He heard the water quietly flowing. He did not know where he was and who had brought him here. Opened his eyes, saw with astonishment that there were trees and the sky above him. And he remembered where he was and how he got here. But it took him a long while for this, and the past seemed to him as if it had been covered by a veil, infinitely distant, infinitely far away, infinitely meaningless. He only knew that his previous life, the first moment when he thought about it, this past life seemed to him like a very old, previous incarnation, like an early pre birth of his present self. That his previous life had been abandoned by him, that full of disgust and wretchedness. He had even intended to throw his life away, but that by the river under the coconut tree he has come to his senses. The holy word Om on his lips, that then he had fallen asleep and he had now woken up and was looking at the world as the new man. Quietly, he spoke the word Om to himself, speaking which he had fallen asleep, and it had seemed to him as if his entire long sleep had been nothing but a long meditative recitation of Om, a thinking of Om, a submergence and complete entering into Om, into nameless and the perfected. What a wonderful sleep had this been! Never before by sleep he had been thus refreshed, thus renewed, thus rejuvenated. Perhaps he had really died, had drowned and was reborn in a new body. But no, he knew himself. He knew his hand and his feet, knew the place where they lay, knew the self in the chest, this Siddhartha, the eccentric and the weird one. But this Siddhartha was nevertheless transformed, was renewed, was strangely well rested, strangely awake, joyful and curious. Siddhartha straightened up. Then he saw a person sitting opposite to him, an unknown man, the monk in a yellow robe with a shaven head, sitting in the position of pondering. He observed the man, who had neither hair on his head nor beard, and he had not observed him for long when he recognized this monk as Govinda, the friend of his youth, Govinda who had taken his refuge with the exalted Buddha. Govinda had aged, he too, but still his face bore the same features, expressed zeal, faithfulness, searching, timidness. But when Govinda now, sensing his gaze, opened his eyes and looked at him, Siddhartha saw that Govinda did not recognize him. Govinda was happy to find him awake. Apparently, he had been sitting here for a long time and had been waiting for him to wake up, though he did not know him. I have been sleeping, said Siddhartha. However did you get here? You have been sleeping, answered Govinda. It is not good to be sleeping in such places where snakes often are and animals of the forest have their paths. I, O sir, am a follower of the exalted Gautama, the Buddha, the Shakyamuni, and have been on a pilgrimage together with several of us on this path. And when I saw you lying and sleeping in a place where it is dangerous to sleep, therefore I sought to wake you up, O sir, and since I saw that your sleep was very deep, I stayed behind from my group and sat with you. And then, so it seems, I have fallen asleep myself.